Conspiracy theories are rife on the internet, and the Formula 1 corner of the internet is no different. There are many conspiracies and controversies that have hit the F1 world, with some of them reigning more true than others. In this video, I will take you through some of the most interesting conspiracies and let you know whether they're true, fake, or still unsolved to this day. Crashgate is by far one of the better known Formula 1 controversies, with its outcomes still causing issues in the F1 world to this day. It all started at the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix. Alonso had moved from McLaren back to Renault for the year after his even more controversial tenure alongside a rookie Lewis Hamilton a year earlier. Sadly for the two-time world champion, Renault were more competitive in the midfield than fighting at the front of the grid, but the team boss and current manager of Alonso, Flavio Briatore, had an idea to change that. On the formation lap of the race, Renault's second driver Nelson Piquet Jr. suffered a rather strange spin, coming around the final corner onto the start-finish straight. It's pretty uncommon for something like this to happen, as the drivers are nowhere near pushing the limits on the formation lap. But it was just a weird incident at the start, right? Fast forward to the race start and things are running as normal. The only outlier is Fernando Alonso, who's made an unusually early pit stop, which confused the driver himself. Why was he being called in before the pit window? Cut to lap 15 around the actual initial pit stop window, and the Renault of none but Nelson Piquet Jr. is in the wall, exactly where he'd spun on the formation lap. The rush of cars to the pits gave Fernando Alonso the lead, and from there he took the car home in first place. This race did, however, have complications for championship challenger Felipe Massa, who under the safety car suffered a complication with his fuel line, getting it stuck in the car as he drove out the pits, and this lost him a massive amount of points. Initially, the whole situation was put down to pure bad/good luck depending on who you were, with Piquet's crash being, although the mark of a poor driver, somewhat understandable and not entirely uncommon. It wouldn't be till well after the end of the season all would be revealed. In fact, in 2009, the next year, Renault had opted to drop Piquet Jr. after the Hungarian Grand Prix, and this is where he revealed that the team had asked him to deliberately crash in order to secure an Alonso win. The FIA immediately investigated and handed Renault a 2-year suspended disqualification, as well as banning Flavio Briatore from all FIA-sanctioned events. Although this was later overturned and Briatore is actually back in Alpine at the moment. Alonso himself was found to have no involvement, but Felipe Massa was outraged, given that if this discovery had been made before the end of 2008, the race would not have been counted, and therefore Massa would have won the Formula 1 World Championship, which is what causes controversy still to this day. This conspiracy was therefore true. Crashgate really did happen and punishments were handed out, but it wasn't the only conspiracy surrounding 2008 and the 2008 World Championship.
Slick-shod Toyota of Timo Glock with just meters remaining.
Is that Glock? Is that Glock going slowly?
It is!
That's
It's Glock! Oh my goodness me!
Glock gave Hamilton the World Drivers' Championship. The final round of the season in 2008 was to take place at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, where championship contender Felipe Massa took the race win. And when he crossed the line, as long as Hamilton didn't move up into 5th place, the championship was his. And when it looked like all hope was lost for the Brit of Hamilton, the Toyota driver of Timo Glock was going extremely slowly, and Hamilton passed him in the final corner, taking 5th place and therefore the World Championship.
Title battle by just a single point.
Conspiracy theorists suggest Glock purposely gave Hamilton the World Championship that day. However, this theory reigns false. Glock was actually just on the completely wrong tires, being on a dry compound on a wet track, and therefore was so slow as he struggled for grip. So, despite there being no cheating in this race, there would be more races with cheating.
Brilliantly, he won in Spa, he wins in Monza, Charles Leclerc is the winner.
2019, and we got two of the most popular wins in Formula 1 history, where Charles Leclerc won in Spa and then won in Ferrari's home of Monza. However, these two wins are actually shrouded in controversy. Ferrari had a significant power advantage at this point, with their engine clearly trumping the competition's, which was quite interesting considering Mercedes engines had been largely dominant over the whole turbo hybrid era. This of course led to the teams calling foul play, as they often do in Formula 1, with them believing that Ferrari were manipulating the device that read the fuel flow through the engine and therefore increasing the fuel that was going to the engine to create more power and obviously burn more fuel, which of course in F1 is not allowed. The FIA did measure Ferrari's fuel load after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix that year, and it was found to be 5 kilograms under the load Ferrari had declared, although that didn't prove foul play with the fuel flow device. Between 2019 and 2020, the FIA released many technical directives about the fuel flow and engine regulations, which was seen as a direct response to those Ferrari allegations. And in 2020, what happened to Ferrari? Well, a significant drop in performance, with Ferrari's aero package being built for an engine that could provide a lot more power than theirs was. At the end of the day, this conspiracy is left unknown, but there's some damning evidence towards Ferrari, and it's not the only time Ferrari have been involved in a large F1 conspiracy. Spygate. 2007 rolls around and we're about to see one of the most competitive on-track seasons, where Alonso, Hamilton, and the actual 2007 world champion Kimi Raikkonen would battle it out for the elusive title. However, McLaren and Ferrari would not just be fighting on track, as the Maranello-based team received a strange call from a photocopying shop in Woking.
Hey, I've just received some copies of apparently confidential Ferrari documents. I'm not sure if these are important or what, but maybe just take a look.
McLaren engineer Mike Coolgan's wife had taken in some documents for her husband, and she took them to the photocopy shop in Woking. And this was when a staff member had noticed they were confidential Ferrari documents and alerted the team. Mike Coolgan had been found to be in possession of many Ferrari documents after his house was searched by UK law enforcement, and he was immediately suspended from the McLaren team. McLaren held their own internal investigation, and although they found no other team members were aware of the documents and no Ferrari engineering elements found its way onto the car, the FIA still disqualified them from the Constructors' Championship. And it hasn't stopped people from joking that Lewis Hamilton has driven a Ferrari once before in his F1 career. This is yet another conspiracy that of course turned out to be true, with legal and FIA action happening after the fact. And Alonso was also yet again involved in this one, and there is just one more conspiracy theory he's involved with. Alonso is still 20 years old. We all know Fernando is the oldest driver on the grid right now, but there is a conspiracy theory that suggests why the Spaniard refuses to stop racing in Formula 1. It all begins in 2015. Pre-season testing was taking place at the Barcelona circuit, and at the long right-hander of turn 3, Fernando suffered a crash. It was reasonably severe, and Fernando had to be airlifted to hospital. The first thing that's very interesting about this theory is that the crash itself has no footage available. Pre-season testing was not publicly broadcast at this time, and the FIA, rather strangely, have never published their findings on the crash. The crash was definitely real. It was reported by journalists, and McLaren themselves say it was caused by a strong gust of wind. However, weirdly, Alonso insisted it was an issue with the car, complaining of locked steering. It doesn't end there though. Once Alonso made it to hospital, things got even weirder. When he awoke from being knocked out, he apparently told doctors, "I'm Fernando. I race karts and want to become a Formula 1 driver." This was reported by the Spanish El País newspaper. McLaren boss Eric Boulier insisted that it was just temporary memory loss, but conspiracy theorists believe Alonso could still think he's a young man, and that's why he refuses to leave Formula 1, as he still wants to hunt down in his mind his first world championship. While this is is highly likely to be false, it would explain Fernando's excellent TikTok game. The next theory, however, was very much more controversial. Film Ocean's 12 sees a gang of thieves pull off some insane heists, and in order to promote the film, the Jaguar F1 team took to embedding their 2004 Monaco Grand Prix cars, each with a $300,000 diamond in the front wing. Mark Webber's car and diamond made it home safely through the whole duration of the race, but other Jaguar F1 driver Christian Klein's car didn't even make it through a lap. The driver hit the barriers on lap 1, coming through the low hairpin, and although the team would usually be worried about the car or driver's safety, they all panicked over the six-figure jewel that just got slammed into the wall, and worried they should have been, even 20 years later, is still to be found, with conspiracy theorists offering a few different potential outcomes. The first is that a track marshal found and kept the diamond for himself, as no marshal ever came forward as having found it. The second is that it got washed down a storm drain and sits somewhere below the Monaco sea level, or potentially that the whole thing was a huge publicity stunt for the film. After all, it is a film about stealing things. The last one is unlikely, but for those questioning the authenticity of the diamond, Jaguar revealed they were real and provided by diamond trader Steinmetz. Comment what you think happened to this unsolved theory, and also do subscribe if you enjoyed the curious world of F1 conspiracies. There are plenty more I'd be happy to cover if you enjoyed this video. Goodbye!